I want to talk about 3 traps that block your access to the creative flow. Now, what I define as the creative flow is the universal channel for creativity, where all the ideas, all the solutions to all the problems can be found. You probably notice if you're a creative person or an entrepreneur who's developing a business, you always come up with an idea and then you go out there and you find out somebody else has already have done it, or somebody else at the same time has been thinking about the same idea. So it's never your idea. It's never that you're the only person who have thought of it. So the inspiration is all around us, pretty much. It's not something that belongs to one person specifically. But in order for us to access that creative flow, we have to kind of get in tune with that channel so you can receive all those messages and all the awesome ideas that are in there. So I guess I don't usually make any of my creative projects like this so spontaneously. I usually do a lot of planning. Even if I'm doing anything spontaneous, I do a lot of try and error until I feel like, oh, this is it, I'm happy with it. Now for this video that I'm making, I'm literally just got up and this morning I woke up and I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to make a video. So here we go. Let's see how it's going to work out. It's going to be exciting for myself as well to see how it's going to go. So the first trap that you can get into that will block your access to the creative flow is yourself. It's the self-judgment that you're going to have towards yourself. Self-judgment can be anything as little as when somebody gives you a compliment, you just kind of don't accept it or don't admit it. You kind of just put it off. If somebody says how good you are, how talented you are, or something that you did that was good, you just pretend like it's nothing or you're not that great. Don't ever do that. Even if you don't feel that you're worthy of that compliment, always respond it with something nice. Just appreciating and just thanking the person who gave you the compliment. There's so many different ways and phrases that you can use to accept a compliment. You can always say that I'm very glad to hear this and I'm very glad to feel useful. Seriously, there's so many different ways that you can appreciate someone's compliment about you. The other one that is very important when it comes to self-judgment, if you're not sure if you're being too judgmental of yourself or not, listen to yourself, talk to yourself. Do you talk to yourself in a tone that you wouldn't talk to a friend? Then you're definitely being too harsh on yourself. If you're using too many words that are kind of putting yourself down or calling yourself names, well, you need to respect yourself. If you're using a very harsh language towards yourself, that pretty much means that you are viewing yourself in that light, that you just feel unworthy, or you truly believe that you're not good enough. So all that self-judgment comes down to not feeling good enough, not talented enough, not professional enough, not knowledgeable enough, not old enough. There is so many not enoughs out there. And let's say if there would be a spectrum of being good enough and not being, let's say you're feeling not good enough at this end of the spectrum, and all the way at the other end of the spectrum, all those people who feel I'm more than enough. I am like overconfident people, or people that like, well, slowly it just gradually gets to arrogance and then eventually at narcissism. And well, I'm not going to discuss what's going to be beyond that. But sometimes I think one of the good tips that you can use to help with your self-judgment, tell yourself those things that people at the other end of the spectrum are telling themselves. Like, I am good enough, I am awesome. Or they're probably thinking that the world is revolving around them. So or they are loving themselves so much, almost too much. So if you don't have enough of that, if you don't feel you're good enough, take on the things that those people who think they're good enough, what they say to themselves to believe that they are really more than enough. Tell those things to yourself. Probably you are really truly good enough. And we really want to be in the middle. Like, we want to come down to being neutral and just being good enough. And to be quite honest, our self-judgment is also coming from many different things. It can be rooted in our lack of self-confidence and self-esteem. And one of the things that you can work on, like one of the exercises that I always use, is bringing examples of the past achievements to gain confidence over again and get back and do whatever that I want to do. Because there's almost impossible if you haven't ever had any achievement in your life. Everybody has done something. And achievements don't have to be like huge. It can be as little as just reminding yourself that one day you were a baby, you weren't able even to walk, you were crawling. Then slowly you were able to walk. Then slowly you were able to run and jump, and now, well, you're on the bicycle. And now, well, you see, you can even ice skate. There are so many different ways that you can play around with the way that you perceive yourself and your abilities and capabilities that you have. It's just a matter of putting that into perspective for yourself and looking at yourself from a third person perspective. Be an observer of yourself and not just see yourself as this small person who's unable to do things, because these are all just different emotions that we are experiencing, and with every experience our perspective can change towards the world and towards ourselves. So just start becoming a little bit more aware of that. Once, if you are having too much of that self-judgment, it can also lead into self-sabotaging behaviors, and that can be as little as not taking on the opportunities that come towards you. You could also just, again, putting yourself down a lot and not believing that you are capable of doing things that you have in mind. Whatever creative project that you have in mind you want to do and you want to work, whatever business idea you might have, you might be an entrepreneur, you want to start working on that, and you just feel that, well, you will never be there. It's never enough, and you won't be able to ever get to what you have in your mind and your big goals and dreams that you have. And with that, with too much of self-sabotaging behaviors, also comes overthinking. If you find yourself not being able to what to wear, having difficulty with not having enough choices or having too many choices, that's an indication of overthinking. You might be uncertain all the times, you might be doubting yourself, you might feel like, well, no, that's, you might come up with all the possible scenarios and ways that things could not work out. You might even go all the way up to imagining imaginary ways that things could not work out. Well, that is an overthinking. In real life, you don't really need to overthink things too much. You get up, you do it, it's either gonna work out or it's not going to work out. And sometimes even when you do overthink everything, like you come up, you design things, you plan things to the point that you think, well, this is going to be, there's no way it's going to not work out. Well, you go and you try it out and it just doesn't work out. So you never know. There's no way of doing something, and feeling always like 100% certain. Especially like we are living in a world that at this very moment there's a possibility that all of us could just die. All of us could pass away. There are more than possibilities for not to be alive than being alive. But somehow, yet me and you have survived to experience this very moment. So if we are going to be so uncertain about every moment of our life, life is going to be very, very difficult. We may as well just forget about it, like give up. Don't. Anyway, I'm joking. Don't give up. So working on yourself is very important. If you have lots of difficulty around that self-confidence, or like, again, not feeling good enough, try the exercises that I told you. Another exercise that you can do if you ever feel like things are not gonna change, I'm in the worst possible place, and you really want to change things, one of the exercises that you can try is by just imagining, like, I call this a recalibration of your emotions, pretty much. You can imagine 5 levels of how the situation that you currently are experiencing could get worse, and 5 levels that it could get better. So in order for you to achieve, you can just imagine the ways that it could be worse than what it is right now, and the ways that it could be way better than what it is right now. By the time you go through each scenario, you come back to being neutral and just feeling okay as you are, and just gaining back your motivation to move forward. So that is one of the traps. Well, I'm personally dealing with this one too. Most of us do deal with that one, because everything comes kind of starts from ourselves first. The way that we feel about things, the way that we perceive the world around us, and the way that we perceive ourselves. And I think I was kind of really motivated to make this video, because I needed to break this trap and get out of it. I've been trying to making this video for a very long time. Actually, the other day when I finished giving a lecture and doing a demo for my students, one of my students told me that, you know what, you could actually make a great actress as well. And I kind of laughed at her. I said, well, you have no idea how much self-judgment I am actually dealing with at this very moment to make my next YouTube video. But here I am. I'm finally getting out of it, and I'm thinking, you know what, whatever, I should do it. This is my mission, this is my vision, this is my calling, and I should take responsibility for it and get in front of the camera and do it. I don't know, as hard and as difficult it is for me to do this, I'm gonna get out there and do it. And so here I am. That one is it's very important that you don't give up on yourself. Also, self-care is very important too when you're dealing with too much of this self-judgment and self-sabotaging behaviors and overthinking. I will probably make another video for self-care for sure. The second trap that you might be dealing with that blocks you from accessing the creative flow is seeking advice from negative forces, or getting consultation from negative forces and people who are not really supportive of your work. Excuse me. Now, this one is kind of interesting, because all of us have experienced this, that when you start working, let's say you're working on your new business idea that you have, or you are a creative person, you're working on your next creative project, you might start looking for people who could be, great mentors for you. And as much as you look up to them, they might actually look down at you. And you might not notice that until, a long time after, like chasing them back and forth and realizing it's just a waste of time. Or like if you're really trying hard to impress others, or proving yourself to others and proving your idea to others, it's very important to kind of realize that the only person that you really, really need to impress, it's only and only yourself, no one else. The only person that you need to prove yourself to is only yourself and no one else, because of several reasons actually. The first reason is because all of these other people, they are dealing with their own issues, with their own life problems as well. So even when you are thinking that they're paying a good attention to what you're talking about, and when you're sharing your ideas with them, they might not really be thinking or even listening to you. So on the surface they might appear that they care, but deep down they care about themselves, and that's completely normal. That's natural. They are human beings too. So just to have understanding for them. The other thing is that they might actually be listening to you, but just so they could put you down, probably they will tell you that, well, it's a very stupid idea, or it's just not gonna work out, and or like, this is impossible. They're always naysayers, obviously, and they are trying to pull you towards the opposite direction. No matter how much you try to stay optimistic and hopeful, they just seem very, very pessimistic. And some of them may actually very masterfully manipulate you and seem like they didn't really value your idea, but then they could go ahead, use your idea, and take credit for it. Now, if you haven't executed that idea, you can't really claim it, can you? So be aware of that. Be aware of the people that you're interacting with, and if they seem that they are not respecting your boundaries, they are not being supportive of your ideas and things that you're doing, just identify them and kind of stay away from that trying to, again, impressing them and proving yourself to them. It's best to, if you just concentrate on yourself. And the other thing that happens with when you try so hard to impress others, you just lose your time and energy, and you pretty much just get distracted, because all of this comes with a huge amount of drama. And every time you go through another traumatic experience, again, your time is going to just get wasted. In a sense, we will go through another kind of cycle and phase of healing of yourself, so you can get back up again and go and just move forward and continue your creative work. So it's very important that you become aware of that, and making sure that you just don't lose your energy dealing with these kind of people, or trying to impressing them or proving yourself to them. If once you start doing that very slowly, you might start looking at people that are more supportive show up. They come into your life, and understand that you don't have to sell yourself short. The other thing, again, going back to the trap number one, if you are already feeling unworthy, you might really work hard to get approval from these people. Again, come back to the idea that you are worthy, no matter whatever that you're working on. If it is important to you, if it is having a positive impact in your life, it will definitely eventually, at some point, one day, will have a positive impact on all humanity. It can start from small but grow and become as big as possible. I don't know, sky is the limit. So try to view things that way. And another thing with getting involved with negative forces and just kind of getting stuck in that trap is that these people, they might seem like friendly, they might even be part of your family and friends, even like your teachers. I don't want you to kind of create this perspective of like, well, I'm gonna hate them, and like I'm gonna just I don't know, cut all my ties with them. Don't. You still need to practice compassion towards all of the people around you anyway, because it's that way it's not going to serve you either. If you're going to hold such strong negative emotions and feelings within you, that's also going to drain your energy in other ways. So it will take some time for you. Take your time. Don't be in rush. The more you rush, the more time it's going to actually take for you to heal yourself and get out there and do the work that you want to do. So just treat everyone with peace and love and kindness, and just let them be and concentrate on yourself. There's no need to seek revenge, or I don't know, doing any taking any specific actions to show how much upset you are or anything like that. Let them just move on to their own life as much as that you're just slowly moving towards working on your ideas. Well, and then the third trap that you might get into, or the trap that will block your access to the creative flow, is remaining in that toxic environment or relationship or situation. Well, if you have experienced the trap number 1 and 2, you have probably been able to identify some of these people and or situations or conditions or environments. It could be the job that you have that it's taking a lot of energy from you and it's really not serving you in a way that you want. It's just maybe the money is good and you can't let it go, but at the same time you don't have the chance and opportunity or the time that you need to work on your creative project. Excuse me. And that could be very energy draining, and you know, every time you get into a situation that is involved with lots of drama, or like people gossiping or people talking, you know, and just creating too much of these strong feelings of being upset and hurt, and you know, it's going to take a lot of energy from you as a person who is experiencing it, whether you're aware of it or not. That's again what happens. You just feel that you always are tired, you're exhausted, you feel like you don't you know, no matter what you do, you might be getting enough sleep, you might be eating well, you might be even working out, going to the gym, I don't know, for 3 days a week, but you still feel tired. It's because of all that things that are happening around you, and that affects on your literally not only physical health but also mental and emotional health. So just be aware of that. Again, I'm not saying that, well, cut tie with all of these people and just maybe you have to just quit that job. That's up to you. That's the choice that you have to make yourself. But it becomes apparent to you that that some of these people, every time you're interacting with them, you just don't feel good. So as soon as you become aware of that, just try to concentrate on yourself. Once you're aware of it, now you know that you don't have to waste your time, or like even if they are again complaining to you or telling you things that are kind of triggering you, just be aware that, well, I understand this person is triggering me. I should probably just go ahead and concentrate on relaxing for now, you know, taking care of myself so I actually work on my creative project. Listen to some music, create an environment that helps you to get out of that tension. You know, it has a lot of tension with it that just brings you down, and you won't be able to access your creativity or the creative flow if you're unable to empty your mind, if you're unable to just relax. Because usually all those great ideas that you get is only in those times and moments that you're just relaxed, you're daydreaming, or you're just listening to music, maybe you're with friends, you know, when you're actually enjoying the moment. And if you're not having that many of those moments, well, guess what? Your creative flow will be blocked. You won't be able to think of anything interesting, you won't be able to do anything interesting, and that's essentially something you want to avoid as a creative person. So I guess that's all I wanted to discuss in this video. I really was hoping to make something that would kind of pushing myself forward too, because I've been trying to make this video. I started making my YouTube videos a couple years ago, and then other traumatic experiences happened for me when by the time I healed myself and got out of it, and it took me some time to get back to it, and I'm really glad I was finally able to make this video. Wow, it's 24 minutes already. I'm very excited that I will be making more of these kind of videos. At the beginning I created this channel so I could share my creative projects. I do a lot of interesting things, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe, and I will be very excited to make more videos on just motivational topics, helping you to develop higher emotional intelligence, as well as just share with you all the cool activities in creative world that I do. Thanks for your attention.